Isn't this great to see all these kids? Good morning, church.
Good morning.
I think most of you know my name is Rob Kennan, and I'm the director of music and the organist and the pianist and a few other things. So I want to, as I'm getting started here, I want to invite the musicians who are planning to come on up to join me up here. And I'll draw your attention to the bulletin. I think it's the, let me see what page it is. There's a couple of music pages in the back here. Yeah, the one where it looks like Jesus is telling you to join choir. I love that picture. And then right next to it is the schedule of the startup, and you can take a look at that. All right, so raise your hand if you like music. Anybody out there like music? I don't see too many hands down. That's great. There was a sign on the Grain restaurant down on Main Street earlier this week that said, "Life without music would be flat." And many of you know that B flat is a music note, so it's kind of a little play on words. Life without music would be flat. Anybody out here been comforted by music in times of grief or pain? Yeah. How about excited by music? Maybe you've been to a parade or a dance club. I won't tell anybody if you've been to the dance club. Have you been inspired by music? Maybe right here in this church. Maybe at the movies. You know, I'm always amazed at how many folks don't really grasp that sometimes a lot of the inspiration in the movie comes from the music, you know. Now, one of the beautiful things about music is that you don't need any, I'm still trying to convince some of you of this, you don't need any particular training or capacity to participate in music. There's over 1,000 references in the Bible to music. That's 1,000. That's a big number. Over 400 that just talk about singing. And I would be willing to proclaim in front of God and everybody else that none of those people, or very few of those people who actually wrote that or followed that were actual musicians or had any kind of training in that way, right? So they were just people just like you and just like my friends up here who I'm going to talk to in just a second. So. Joseph, you've been a member of the music program and music factory since you were a young lad. Now that you're a mature lad, you sing in the youth choir. And what do you like about singing in the youth choir?
I just really enjoy, as a kid especially, singing with a group because that really helps me. And I just think it's really cool to sing spiritual songs in choir.
Yeah. And Sue is in our chancel choir, and you've been in there for a long time. She plays oboe in the orchestra and English horn. And thankfully for the chancel choir and myself, she helps me out as a volunteer to organize the music. And she puts the music in the folders, and when we're done with the songs, she takes them and puts them in the library. So we're very appreciative to that, Sue. 43 years. So that means she started when she was 5. All right. Shannon and I have known each other a few years. She used to go to the previous church that I worked at. And Shannon plays flute in the orchestra. And Shannon thinks that maybe some of you might want to play in the orchestra too. So why do you think that, Shannon?
We just have so much fun. I mean, tell you what, Rob and I have known each other for a long time. I know some of the stuff up his sleeve that I'm not allowed to say. I will get shy. Okay, we don't need that. So, many of you have heard the songs we've played. They're fun. They're easy. And
yeah, and we have just one rehearsal. I think that's what you were going to mention at some point, is that we just have the one rehearsal before we...
We have one rehearsal the week before we play, and it's not even like, yes, he pins an hour, but we're not here the entire hour. And then we play the next week in the service, and it's 3 or 4 times a semester?
Yeah,
so
twice.
It's not much.
So anyway, if you play an instrument, now you do need a little bit of background to play in the orchestra, but you know. All right, and then we have Miss Crystal, who is one of our newest members. And Crystal actually has functioned as an organist in churches for a long time. But as she's been with us, she plays in the handbell choir, and she plays saxophone in the orchestra. And so why do you play in these groups, Crystal?
Well, playing in school bands was a big part of my life and something I enjoyed thoroughly for 9 years, junior high school, and college, and since then in different organizations. And I'm just glad to be at a church that has an orchestra. And even though I don't play often, what I discovered is that if you continue to use it, you'll never lose it.
Amen. And Adam plays in the handbell choir with his children, one of whom is with us this morning. And so, and you've been in there, a couple of years anyway? Yeah. So why do you ring in the Genesis ring?
I ring because it was something new for me, and it's a way for me to spend time with my children. We got to be a part of the Blue Rocks national anthem, and it turned out wonderful because of our great director, Ruthie Toole. And it's just a good time. You don't need any, I didn't have any musical background at all, and somehow we sound good. So, I love it.
Did you want to sing? Okay. Now, Dave, on the other hand, has been part of this church for a long time. I don't know if you want to proclaim a year as well, but... 14 years in the choir. Oh, 14 years in the choir, okay. But he's actually a musician out in the community and many communities, and he plays for the carol choir, and he sings in the chancel choir. So why do you sing in the chancel choir?
There's something I really love about functional groups, and the only thing that makes a functional group where people really like each other and care about each other and work for a common purpose is if you're singing at the same time. Something very deeply spiritual about it. I love the wide variety of repertoire and the fact that we're family.
Amen. Yeah. And John, is Emily here? There she is, okay. She's making some noise, that's what we do. So John brings his granddaughter to our carol choir, which is the choir for our youngest children, kindergarten through second grade. And so John, why do you think it's important that Emily's part of this group?
Well, it's great. The kids get to learn about music, the church, make friends, work as a group. The best half hour of my week.
So you can see that there's very varying reasons and that people participate, and we just want to encourage you to consider participating with us. And so if you are interested, do get a hold of me. I just want to leave you with a couple things. There was something that the American musical composer and librettist Dolores Duffner, I guess I can turn this thing off, wrote, and this is, I think, a really interesting statement for us to consider. Let us bring the gifts that differ and, in splendid, varied ways, sing a new church into being, one in faith and love and praise. So that's and I forgot to ask Liz, can I use your words about, okay. I wrote it in the parish notes, but I didn't ask her if I could say it. Words of Liz Murray, our friend Liz Murray. It takes a village, y'all, and you're a part of it. So come join us. Thank you.